Brian, thank you for joining me today. I wanted to ask you a few questions about your career in corporate communications.
I started very inauspicious start. I started as an intern in the sports department at UCTV TV in Tallahassee, Florida. I floated around quite a bit on my educational journey attending Florida State University in terms of what I wanted to do. And looking at journalism specifically through the lens of sports was something I'd kind of been interested in. So I got an internship working with a weekend sports anchor at the CBS affiliate in Tallahassee, Florida, and loved it and did grunt work for a semester, but it was enough of a window into it where I was hooked. This is what I want to do. And so that kind of led to me looking for an opportunity and finding a photographer opportunity with the local ABC affiliate in the town where I grew up, Panama City, Florida. I basically got my foot in the door as a photographer, basically took sort of the lowest rung position possible, and from there sort of was fortunate enough to have a couple of opportunities to do sports, to be sports director. A couple of years later, I kind of moved into news. Over the years, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, moved into a little bit more of a management position in the newsroom. So yeah, TV news, working in a lot of the different roles that you can have in local TV, at local TV stations was sort of my window into communication.
Brian, that's fascinating, and I think as a journalist who moved into corporate communications, I always like the backstory. So, how did you make that connection from the sports management piece of the TV station over into CorpCom?
Good question. So, for me, I could see that the business of television, especially the local television market, was changing. More and more, I was being asked to do stories that were a little bit more sensational that I was comfortable with, and although I enjoyed it, I could see that it was changing, and I could also see that it wasn't going to be quite as relevant because the world was changing, and the way that we consume information now is so different than the world of my parents, where there's essentially 3 TV stations. My mom and dad would literally sit around the TV at 6 o'clock every night to watch the local news. That's where they got all their information. It was from the same guy too. We live in a very different world. It's much more fragmented. So I could see that change coming. For me, it was okay. How can I make a change and yet not start completely over? Is there a role out there? Is there an industry? Is there a job that I can do where I can carry forward some of what I learned, but maybe in a more corporate setting? I didn't even understand at that point. Didn't even really understand that there were jobs like I know now within corporate communications. I understood a little bit about PR, but the idea of corporate communications is not even really crystallized for me. So I was lucky enough. There was a local bank called BB&T. I had heard good things about. They had a position I knew about through a friend who recommended me. And I will tell you that my thought at the time was, well, I'm never gonna want to work for a bank, and I'm not gonna wear a 3-piece suit all day. And I fear numbers. That's the reason why I got into communication, to get away from numbers in college, right? And so I took that job thinking, well, this will be the bridge job to the job that I really want, whether that's in production or whatever it might be. And so that job at BB&T in their PR department, doing more of a multimedia role, was my door into corporate communication. And all these years later, I am still working for the same company, which is now Truist, more than 20 years now, being in corporate communications because of that opportunity.
Brian, I love that progression. And how has comms changed over the years? Like since you joined BB&T, how would you say your role or the skills you needed have changed?
I think I've had the opportunity to just broaden my skills, beyond, I had much more of a multimedia focus, when I started with Truist all those years ago.
Thank you so much, Brian. We really appreciate that time and your comments, and I think this will be helpful for future communicators.